I'm live, I'm live, I'm live. What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? Let me do my checks. Let me do my shit next. It's been a minute. People don't be joining my lives. It's all good. You know, I'm a nobody. Hell yeah, all right, nah. Live. What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? Let me do my checks. Let me do my shit. It's got some reverb going. Check, check, check. 1, 2. Check, 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 check. Okay. Next. It's been a minute. All right. All right. About a minute in. Let me pull up a couple of things. I'm going to go ahead and just get to talking, actually. What up, world? You know what I mean? Yeah, I've been gone for a minute. I'm not consistent as I should be, and I'm hoping to get a little bit more consistent. I'll be honest with you. Every time I get to messing with too many females, I get busy. But I broke away from a little bit of that. Okay? Anyways, so today's topic. I was watching Jason Black, the Black Authorities live stream program maybe about a few days ago, and it was with Kamala Harris and Steve Harvey on stage. And at one particular point, they started talking about community banks and how important community banks are in the world, in the United States, as far as lending money to people, especially I think they started going into signature loans to where you could be able to walk in and just off the strength of your signature, off the strength of the person that you are, you can get a loan for almost anything from some of these banks. And it made me start thinking about a few different things because back in the day, I remember people saying like, oh man, you could just go get a loan from the bank because you're white. And typically whenever you say that to a white person, they would like make it seem like you're tripping, or what do you mean by that, or you're being racist. They got it on just their hard work and their due diligence and the credit that they've put in over the years and things of that nature. And that's what they would try to tell themselves, to try to make themselves believe it, but they knew differently. And what's crazy is a lot of synchronicities have been happening, and I need to utilize those synchronicities for my channel. What do I mean by that? Like literally not that long after that, I saw 2 different videos which really kind of hit that point hard from the past as far as the importance of community banks and what community banks did for white people versus what it did for black people. This is going to be so important. First, let's start off with the clip that is from Kamala Harris when she was on the sorry guys, when she was on with Steve Harvey. Do a lot of people. Let me pull up the timing about right there. All right, let me get us up here.
And of course, they start clapping. They start clapping like baby seals. She didn't say nothing, you dumb niggas. She didn't say anything. And furthermore, she didn't make any specific promises. Now, she said folks need to know about all the things we're doing so they can take advantage of that. And then she doesn't name a damn thing. Remember, she started off, folks need to know about it so we can tell them how to take advantage of it. And then she doesn't say anything. Now, we're going to let you go on here because you think she's about to say something. In reality, she isn't. But I'm going to go ahead and let her play so Bowling Ball Martin and his audience, you should have let her talk, Jason. She said some more. Oh, don't worry. I'm going to get you too.
Well, let's talk about this capital for entrepreneurs and small businesses. because that's been a really important part of your mandate here as vice president. But little do a lot of people know, you were doing this long before you even got to the White House.
Okay, now I want y'all to understand this part that Steve Harvey talking about here. This is for us, okay? This is the White House. This goes, if you all have ever doubted the efficacy of the new black media, if you've ever doubted the efficacy of our work for the last decade and a half, going on 2 decades, here they are in front of Kamala Harris, and they're directly addressing us and what we've been saying. If you thought them body blows didn't get through, if you thought that they're not worried as hell about what's going on, if you thought that this was isolated to just our, quote, small corner of the internet, we're not a small corner of the internet, and they're letting you know they've gotten their numbers, they're taking a look at their polls, what we are saying is resonating across the country, and they're encountering it everywhere. So for the first time ever, you see Kamala Harris, and they're coming out the gate trying to address entrepreneurship and raising capital. Now, where the hell was Barack Obama? Baby seals. Don't believe.
So that's why I'm doing this tour.
Any specific, and
President. But little do a lot of people know.
Unity. There you go. Community.
Sorry, guys.
Whose community?
Here we
Needs
go.
of the community.
Small business dollars and stuff.
Okay, sorry, guys. Here we go. I thought it was at the right part. It's kind of slightly before, but we're right here.
That's available now, and a lot of people are not aware, and there's a lot of, like you say, really brilliant people in this audience here who are entrepreneurs. The minds in this room is really startling, man. There's some really sharp people here, right? And if they only knew what was available for them. Tell us more about this work for small business and entrepreneurs.
So like you said, Steve, when I was in the United States Senate, I actually was responsible with a group of other senators for getting $12 billion more into our community banks. So the importance of community banks is they are, as they are called, they're in the community, led by members of the community. They are people who understand the capacity of the community, the needs of the community, the culture of the community. They are folks who, unlike the big banks, will see the dream that an individual has for what is possible.
Now, did you all get that? Somebody in the chat room got that immediately. Black banks? She talking about community banks. Are these black community banks or are these white community banks? And oh, take a look. The black folk can go to the white community bank. So he asked about us, and she's talking about, well, we're going to put money into the community banks. Whose community? So do you see the damn trick bag language? You asked about black.
That's important because whose community is she talking about? Why are community banks important? Why would putting money in a black community bank, which would necessarily put money into the black community, why would that be important? Why isn't she saying black community? She gets to shuffle in her words because right now she's talking about community and community banks and how amazing community is and, such and such about community. That's why he started yelling, whose community? Because when you get into the end of this, you're really just talking about putting money into community banks. That's just like, it's like she's taking one word from it. She's trying to stress the importance of what community is because that'll pull at your heartstrings, but at the same time, it's not giving you anything. It's not telling you anything. It's not giving you anything direct or as far as information about what she's talking about. It's really is giving you information. It's just kind of giving you fluff to mask the idea that you think she's talking about a black community bank, but she's not.
Black folk, and then she talks about how they're gonna plow money into white banks so you can go ask them for something. So instead of Kamala Harris turning you down, well, we gave it to the banks could have gave it to you there, now they can turn you down, which is what they've been doing. But then they're putting it in our community banks. So she names off this big number of billions of dollars for the community banks. Yeah, just not in the black community. I'm trying to show you that this is how serious they are about pulling over this trick bag on us. This is how dedicated to it they are to be a.
So let's look at how important community banks was back in the day, just to white folks. Now, this was a video I watched that really talked about credit and debt, and credit and debt in the society, and how it came to be, the origins of credit, the origins of debt, things of that nature. And I can't remember the name of the video, but I'm gonna play this, and then I'm gonna come back. But it's gonna show just this particular clip. And now this part necessarily was in Canada, but you know, you can pretty much repeat the same thing for the United States and all the white people anywhere, really. So let's take a look.
I know that the banks here in Canada, it was very much relationship-based lending. So if you had a good relationship with your banker, then it was easier access to money.
Okay. Give me a second, guys.
What color?
I know that the banks here in Canada, it was very much relationship-based lending. So if you had a good relationship with your banker, then it was easier access.
Okay.
I know that the banks here in Canada, it was very much relationship-based lending. So if you had a good relationship with your banker, then it was easier access to money.
Relationship banking, okay? Do you have a relationship with your banker? You got to think, back in the days, black people didn't have relationships with white people like that. So if all the money went to the white banks from the federal government or from whatever, just the money that's being invested, how are we supposed to get some type of relationship with said banker in order to be able to be trusted with a loan? Either way, let's keep going.
What collateral can you offer for this loan, Mr. Brown?
I can offer only my record and my present salary.
Back in the day, you also you were always very nice to your bankers because they held the keys to the lending. So did they know your parents, go to the same church, same clubs, same relationship, then you would get a higher chance of getting approved.
Well, Mr. Brown, we're satisfied as to your credit and income, and we're glad to make you the loan.
Modern consumer...
Well, Mr. Brown, we got a loan for you right here. Go on and sign on this dotted line right here. We don't need anything from you. We believe you. You're white and we believe you.
Credit started out as a way to sell sewing machines, furniture, cars, clothing, and other mass-produced goods via an installment loan. By the 1970s, just about any type of credit you could imagine was available to just about anyone who wanted it because, as it turns out, giving credit is incredibly profitable.
The credit thus created is far greater in amount than all the money in the world. And this credit is the cornerstone of our world structure of commerce and industry.
But lenders learned that if you granted credit to everyone without appropriate lending policies, you will likely lose money.
But I thought banks were supposed to make loans.
They are, but we can't afford to retail money in small lots, except occasionally to accommodate a depositor.
So, lenders needed to create policies surrounding credit approvals.
Well, it's not only the time required to make a loan that we have to plan on, but also the cost of collection. You, no doubt, would like to repay your loan in small monthly installments. And as we are only permitted to charge you the regular bank rate of interest, the handling and collecting of your loan would show us a loss.
The consumer lending industry was now too large to be managed by personal relationships with your local banker.
Good place for a hardware store. Well, I think we can make you this loan.
Oh, that's fine. Will the bank need security?
No, I don't think so.
Intuitively, you and I would think that if you have a customer who doesn't pay you, that's bad for business. But the actuaries have determined that you want one customer out of every 100 not to pay you, because that means you're maximizing your profit on the other 99. And so if all of your customers pay every month, your credit policies are too tight. You want to give them more credit so you can get them to buy more, Eventually, somebody's going to stop paying. That's that 1 out of 100. If you're got more than 1 out of 100 not defaulting on their payments, then your credit policies are too loose and you're losing money. Society as a whole benefits.
So let's go back to me. So you got to think of what we just heard there. So there's a couple of things, and I was going to try to jump in a couple of times, but because of the way that I got it set up on here right now, I couldn't do that. But one thing to take note of is, as you saw there, he was like, I want to open a hardware store. You know, when we think of credit as just, you know, some of these things that we can get, you know, just on normal things. You think a nigga just, white boy just got him a car because, you know, he had credit and I mean, he had a relationship with the banker and they gave him a car. Yeah, they got car loans, home loans, all that other stuff, you know, easily. But to open up stores, now you're able to get a direct foothold in the economy on a massive scale with no backing, no needed, no nothing. You just white and you can go open up a big store. Because as we know right now, some of the biggest players in the game have brick and mortars. You know what I'm saying? If not all of them. And it's hard to get that. The barrier of entry to get into a brick and mortar is thousands and thousands, if not millions of dollars just to get into the fucking real estate, just to sit there and also construct it to what you want it to look like. On top of that, to furnish it. On top of that, to pay all the things you got to pay legally and all the utilities and things like that and all that. Then on top of that, to put in the product or whatever you're selling at the time, or, you know, so whereas like if you start an online business, a home-based business, it's a whole lot smaller of, you know, a whole lot less of a barrier to entry to get into it. But at the same time, you're not going to be able to grow as much. There's something to be said to have that brick and mortar on a street that's in the right location with tons of traffic, whether it be foot traffic or vehicle traffic. And for people back in the days to be able to just go into like what you just seen him, would the bank need any kind of security or any kind of money or any kind of backing? No, I'm sure you do all right. You just told us what you wanted. You want a hardware store? That's a great spot for it. So it's sign right here. If you need more money, just come in. You're white. You know what I mean? So we don't get that. And that came from their community bank. Why did they do that? Because at first, it probably, as you can see toward the end, they said the banks got so big that they had to eventually come up with policies because in order to qualify people for these loans, because they could not just rely on relationships anymore because they didn't know who all was coming in the door anymore. But at the same time, one thing they did know is you was white. And this is kind of where you get at today, where there's some of these articles out here where I think it was even Navy Federal Credit Union or whoever that, you know, I mean, they just turning down black folks left and right just for being black, no matter how well you qualify through the credit standards and everything else. No, you know, turn you down. But white folks, oh, you could have a negative credit score, nigga. Yeah, your credit score is in the overdraft, nigga. Approved. You know what I'm saying? You need 100K? Here you go, white man. You know, and that's kind of what's been going down. But let's look at another thing here where I saw this on my Twitter. And this kind of coincided on how it affects the black community when you're not pumping money into the community bank. So let's just kind of correlate the last video with the Kamala Harris thing before we get to this. So Kamala Harris is here saying, hey, we're going to pump money into these community banks, and community banks are real integral in the community because they're there and they can see who's there and they know who to lend to, and they're the important people that you would go to in order for you to get the money that you need and the help and assistance to help you with your economic future, whatever, right? But then I just showed you how white folks were getting in on that community bank shit. And Jason Black was just talking about how she's she's purposely leaving out the black the word black when she's talking about community banks, because she wants you to think that she's talking about a black community bank that they shuffled $12 billion towards, when really they shuffled $12 billion towards white banks, and then that money gets disseminated based upon the white folks that whose hands it touched. So let's look at another thing here. And this is, again, how it affects the black community more so than the others.
Miamians view the sudden in-migration of Cubans with bitter irony. Black Miamians watched as Cuban exiles were given assistance, aid, and money that native-born black Americans never received. Some blacks began to feel that the Cuban migration and the federal government's attention to Cuban needs blunted demands that blacks were making during the 1960s civil rights struggle. Jesse McCrary is an attorney in Miami. At 34, McCrary has had a fast-moving career. He's been an assistant state's attorney general and for a time sat as one of Florida's federal court judges. McCrary likes to remember that he is one of few...
Boy, he had a serious face. Let's look at that serious face. Boy, that's a face I want, nigga, when I get me a black lawyer one day. Hold on, go back. I done fucked it up. Sorry, folks. What happened? That's what I get for playing around. All right, I'm gonna just let it play.
In-migration of Cubans with bitter... I asked McCrary what he thought the Cuban immigration means to blacks in Miami.
Well, one, Tony, it means that economically, when you look at what the Cubans have done in terms of their economics versus what blacks have done, it means that we are once again at the bottom of the barrel. There are no predominantly black financial institutions in this county. Some people would say that, even though there is a bank here with a number of blacks on the board of directors, but when you look at the control of the bank, where the major portion of the stock is held, it's held by white Miamians. Contrasting that, you have Cubans who have a bank that reportedly is one of the fastest growing banks in the country. Now, that poses a problem because I believe that the whole strength of any community happens to be what kind of financial institutions do you have? Is there an institution that can make a loan to a man who wants to go in business? Is there an institution that is sympathetic to a man who wants to build a house? Is there an institution where he can borrow money to send his children to school? Now, if you don't have those kinds of institutions, then certainly when other people have them, that is white Miami, Cuban Miami, and then black Miami does not have it, it certainly puts them in a pretty poor position, I think.
Very, very poor. Thank you so much. Very, very poor position. Purposely engineered very poor position. A purposely engineered very poor position. That's what it puts you in. Okay? And as you can see, what is he talking about? This was back in Miami. And this is videos from different areas of the fucking United States and different part of the world, and the stories are the same, and they can be pieced together to prove the racial disparities that were purposely put in place for the economic disparities that happen in the black community, and to keep us down at the bottom rung of the ladder economically, like we've been for years. And you can see here, as he talks about, even the Cubans are getting a leg up. And I used to say too, even here in Dallas, if you go to the Asian side of town, there's an Asian bank. How do I know it's Asian, nigga? There's Asian words that I can't read on that bitch. You know what I'm saying? I know it's a bank. You can look at it. It looks like a bank. But where is the black American banks? Where are the black American banks at? Where are the black American banks in the communities? They done already segregated us purposely through all these laws and redlining and everything like that. But you ain't gonna put a bank purposely in all of those, so that way you ain't got to deal with us. They purposely make it to where we have to come deal with them if we want to get that leg up. And you can say, well, shit, y'all could just work alone, work together and do this and that. Yeah, to a degree, but whenever in order to go to that next level, even when you, let's say I built up my own business, made $200,000 a year, but I need to go to that next level. Let's say I make $500,000 a year, but I need to go to that next level. Let's say I'm selling product and I done sold $500,000 worth of product, and now I caught the eye of some major distributor and company like Walmart or something, and they want to put all my stuff in there, and they say, but we will give you a purchase order, but that purchase order it's gonna cost you about $4 million just to send that first order to us. Well, where am I gonna get that $4 million? Where am I gonna get the $4 million? I'm gonna have to go to a white person. And I'm gonna have to deal with the fact that maybe they might say yes, maybe they might say no, God damn it, they're white and they say so. And you just have to deal with it. And this is what we're talking about. This is one of the things that we have been harping on as foundational Black Americans for quite some time, the fact that we don't get the same things as everybody else. Even the other groups of people who are here, let me just check my live stream. So make sure I've been going, yeah. But even the other groups of people that are here are getting the community bank. The Cubans, they came over, a lot of them came over illegally. A lot of them came over, they was jumping ship. There's so many documentaries that I've seen about Cuba, and I can't think of the name of the one that I want to say, but the Cubans that left were the traitor Cubans. They were being yelled at and cussed out as they was running across to try to get to the embassy or get to the damn airport to get up out that bitch. And the Cubans that were still there were looking at them as traitors because they stood there in their homeland, didn't flee, and decided to work hard and bring up what they had, bring things back up from what they had. So here we are in a situation where Black people have been in America since its inception, and we still aren't getting anything. We can't even get a motherfucking bank. It ain't because there ain't no Black people who haven't thought of, hey, I wouldn't mind opening a bank. There's tons of Black people out here that would love to own a bank. There's tons of Black people that would love to own many different types of businesses that we don't own today. Like, even if you look at the landscape in Dallas of motherfucking gas stations, convenience stores just being ran over ran by Somalis and Middle Eastern people, Arabs. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, that's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence these motherfuckers can come here, get some motherfucking loan and make it happen. And people will say, well, it's your culture. How come you've been here all these years? Do you really think that there's people, Black people all around that don't want to own a gas station? That don't want to own a motherfucking grocery store, get a loan for a beauty store, get a loan for residential construction for homes, get a loan for some equipment to start up their construction business, to get, I could go on and on and on and on and on and on and on. There's no good reason that anybody can tell me that anybody deserves these things over us. We are not inherently dunces. We're not some inherently fuck-ups. We're not some inherent crazy people. No. All that propaganda that's out there that has put us in that light in a lot of people's minds, which really it shouldn't. A lot of y'all are just fucking idiots and you're not looking at what you... Let me just calm down. But as I showed y'all, these things that they have, that Kamala Harris was talking about, and that others was talking about, the community banks. Black people were and have been denied so much credit, even still today. Yeah, and if you don't believe me, let me just pull the shit up, just so that way, it's good to have Navy proof. Federal Black Loans issue. Here we go. The nation's and look, it's the nation's largest credit union, not just a little old credit union across the street, nigga, that's doing some discrimination. The nation's largest credit union rejected more than half its black conventional mortgage applicants. And that's just for the mortgages. How many people did they deny for motherfucking business loans? That's where it really counts. Now, I'm not even completely mad that people didn't get into mortgages, but they should have, because it sucks, because they were denying them while the housing prices were low and interest rates was low. And when interest rates rose up and housing prices got high, I'm pretty sure they started to give it to the niggas. Let's approve them. Hey, niggas, you want a house? You need a house, nigga? We got loads for you, nigga. That's what they do to us. And this is still today. Where back in the day, we couldn't get a signature loan. We couldn't just walk in on the basis of being white or having a relationship with the banker who is white. We couldn't just waltz up in there and just do what we do. So you got all those years where we were denied economic growth purposely, not only through the federal government, not only through the extremists that was coming in us, not only through the policies implemented in the background, and not only through the racial bias that happens on a mass scale, but on top of that, we can't even come in to the banks because we don't have a relationship with them in order to move our businesses, ourselves, or whatever up to that next level. Now, a lot of black people still made it happen back then, and that just goes to show that we're an amazing ass people. We have a lot of hard work and ingenuity, and we'll get there. But it's insane. It's insane the amount of tricks and trick bags that they've put in place to try to keep us down. Yet we're still here, and we still rise. So I'm not going to continue because typically I try to do a bunch of things, and I was going to possibly pull up a couple other things, but I'm going to leave it there for now, and we'll talk about something else another time. You know what?
We're underrepresented.
Let's go into this real quick.
No, yeah, so basically I feel like the Mexican people were underrepresented there last night.
I feel it. I can see that.
I can see that too, man, but...
And a lot of people are telling me that I sound like bitter or something. Like, I'm not a rapper, fool. I'm not tripping about not being on stage. I'm saying, like, Jeezy performed, I think, last night.
Yeah.
Did he?
That would have been nice if he would have been on stage.
If he would have.
Now, maybe the young legend had something to do, so he dipped.
Right, because all the artists that did perform were up there.
Facts.
I respect it. Who was up there? I can't keep counting.
There was a lot of people that went, but I think Jeezy was the only
person that didn't pop out? Or were you going to say he's the only Mexican that performed?
Both.
Did he perform? Was he supposed to perform?
He did perform, yeah.
He did And I didn't see him perform because I caught it late.
I saw the clip.
I saw
I didn't even see that clip.
a picture of someone posting that he performed.
Do you think it had something to do with it being Juneteenth?
I don't understand. I thought Juneteenth was like on the 16th or something like that. It's on June 19th.
It was Juneteenth yesterday.
Yeah, it was Juneteenth. Facts.
I respect it.
Do you think that had something to do with it?
Had something to do with what? The fact that they threw the show that day? Or that there was no Mexicans on stage?
Okay, I'm not going to continue. I mean, so basically, these motherfucking idiots is mad that Mexicans wasn't represented like crazy in hip hop during Kendrick Lamar's show. This is just like what's going on with the hip hop shit right now, where they're trying to say that they helped create hip hop 50-50 and that bullshit. Look, man, this just goes to show, why are y'all so on our motherfucking coattails? when we throwing a party somewhere, how come y'all even showed up? And then when you showed up, how come you trying to shoehorn yourself in? And they be like, well, we're some of the biggest, consumers of of rap and this and that. Who gives a fuck? That's your problem. That is your problem. Your problem that you have to keep coming over here being the biggest consumers of our shit instead of your own shit. You got your own culture. Y'all could be the biggest consumers of the whatever. I get this the same music all the time. Y'all can crowd them motherfuckers up. They concerts up like crazy. You ain't gotta come to Kendrick shit. You ain't gotta come to none of our shit. Y'all can leave us alone, and I guarantee you we'll still be out here stunting on you motherfuckers. We'll still be out here. And you couldn't leave us alone. Y'all be trying to leave us alone, be sitting there listening to you. Doom, 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 doom. And then you'll be listening to that shit, and you'll see us over there rocking out to some motherfucking Young Dolph, and you like, yo, I want to be black now, bro. Like I can't do the accent. But like, first of all, take a look at this, man. These are 3 white men. Okay? You're not gonna fool me into thinking these are Mexicans. Okay, I'm tired of these white, hella bright Mexicans. They got a little bit of accent and a little hint of a look like they could look a little some kind of Hispanic. No. Like this fat white dude right here, I mean, if he shorten that beard up on the sides like right there, he looks like fucking Hitler's little cousin. But let him just call himself Mexican and give himself a slight accent, we'll accept it. The other 2 dudes look like they could just be on the episode of motherfucking West Coast Choppers or West Coast Customs. Like that dude in the far back left looks like that nigga from West Coast Customs, or whatever it's called, where they, hook up people's cars and shit. Like, this is what they say, you know what I'm saying? They're Hispanics and they're trying to take over other people's cultures. As far as they're already white and took over Hispanic culture or Mexican culture. Oh, yeah, Hispanic. Hispanic would be people from like the island of Hispaniola, the islands of Hispaniola. I think that's where Hispanic comes from. And I could be wrong. Latin, I think, are people I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to look that up. People who not speak Latin. I don't know, man. And then you got Mexicans, people that come from Mexico. Things of that nature. But a lot of these people, man, that like I said, they had that mejor. People be saying it wrong. Mejor la raza. Some people say mejor la raza or some shit like that. Mejor la raza or something. But it's really mejor, MEJA or whatever. The color white, which is mejor. And then the race, raza, RAZA, whiten the race, white the race. And that's what they be doing, you know what I mean? And then they get on here talking about which is really funny. You got some white dudes that's done taken over Mexican culture who's sitting here complaining that their white Mexicans aren't being represented during a Black Juneteenth event for Kendrick Lamar and hip hop. Like, what in the fuck does they got to do with anything? And they don't even know what the fuck Juneteenth was about. And even if they did, I would think that they would play stupid on here. What is that even about? I mean, it's some fucking massacre or something. What we do, kill a bunch of them? Like fucking dummies? Like, they love to tell a story that makes it look like they just decimated us or something, but that's not always the case. It's just straight propaganda. But anyways, that's all I got for today. I don't have a whole lot of energy, I guess. Just getting back, just getting started. And I guess my energy ain't as up there, but at least I got an episode in, man. Gave y'all something, gave y'all a little something to think about with the community banks, because it's one of those things. If Kamala Harris and the rest of them motherfuckers are gonna sit here and boast about how they shuffle money to community banks, and we need to talk more to them about when are they gonna put some in a black community bank? When can black community banks be opened? When will the government give assistance through consultation as well as funding and grants for black people to open up said black banks in order for us to have that kind of community resource that we can go to without having to go somewhere else and be denied on the basis of our skin because motherfuckers is crazy. Okay? That's what it is. So, it's your boy Chef Bay. Holla back.